Thanks to Sana Skin Studio for supporting the No podcast. Sana is a skin studio that is shifting the relationship with your skin and your products through goal-driven facials, real guidance, and clean skincare. Stay tuned for our promo code so you can receive $25 off of your first facial at Sana Skin Studio. Welcome to the No podcast with me, Nikki Spo. Welcome back, everybody. You are listening to The No, and I am your hostess, Nikki Spo. I am so glad you're here today, and I'm really excited about today's guest, Ayana Rodriguez. Ayana Rodriguez is the founder of the itavi method, the award-winning child care program that has gained undivided popularity across Florida and the country. It provides the best in trained and equipped professionals in the child care space, consisting of play, exercise, learning, reading, and arts and crafts for all ages, while highlighting the local and unique culture of your destination, no matter the city you're staying in. It's an experience that kids are proven to love and learn from, making for the best day ever. Ayana originally created the program to better the child care space after personally seeing a void in the industry as a working mother with 3 children. Here she observed a lack of accountability, a missing consistency in expectations, and an absence in trusted professionals who have the tools to bring value to the time spent with her children. She identified that the childcare simply deserved better. So as a result, she created the itavi method. It is the ultimate resolve for the child care space, presenting a tech-enabled and educational service that offers an engaging, dynamic, and developmental, in addition to positive experience for parents and children alike. It's a child care program that proves a cut above. As a former educator and now a parent of young children who invests in quality childcare, this is a topic that is really important to me. I want to talk about what's working and what's not working for kids and how we can create more meaningful experiences and relationships for them even when they aren't in our presence. So let's get started with Ayana Rodriguez. Ayana, welcome to The No, where it's not about knowing everything. It's about coming to know ourselves. And I think a part of coming to know ourselves, especially as a parent, is trusting our instincts when it comes to how we are raising and creating meaningful experiences for our children. So welcome.
Thank you. Such a pleasure and honor to be here this morning. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. So you are doing this, exactly that with your company, right? You are doing we are creating meaningful experiences for our children, how we are raising them and creating those experiences. Even when they're not necessarily in our presence, we want to make sure that they're having those. And that's what you're doing with your company, itavi, which is sort of an acronym, right? For It Takes a Village. Tell us about your business, itavi.
As you mentioned, itavi stands for It Takes a Village because we truly do believe it takes a village in raising children. As you know, as a mom, and we've really gotten away from that in modern day environment, society, and we want to go back to that. The old roots of we all have to do our part, right? And at itavi, we really work on how we can do that and redefining what childcare looks like, what the expectations are, how the process should be. The old adage that as long as my kids are safe and I come home and everything is still standing, it's good. That doesn't work for us. Those are not expectations we should have, because you know what? We're not building anything. What are we really getting out of that? So at itavi, we have completely revamped our process, set the bar on expectations, and through an approach that, with the right intentions, has a sustainable outcome. And so it's one in which, we really want to provide a whole child experience, not just making sure they're safe. Obviously, that's by far the most important. And the process that we go into, that safety is number one priority. And then after that, it's about how do we make or allow this child to be better than when we walked into the space with them. And we do that through building this experience, the itavi method, which we've incorporated, which are 5 pillars: arts and crafts, reading, cultural understanding, movement. And, it really just creates a complete approach to what the time, 4 hours, 6 hours, however long we're spending with your child, something tangible. So when you come home, you see they're not just on their iPad, they're not watching a movie. We have a no electronic policy. And so, it's a complete old school, but with a revamped approach to how to effectively spend time with children.
So this is major because, and you touched on a lot of really important things that I want to talk about. So one of the things that you mentioned is like, when you looked back in the days, we had communities of people, like, even I think back like to when I was growing up, like you could play outside and your neighbors would tell your parents what was going on. And like, you think about a community in that sense. But then if you go even farther back in time, we had like, especially in a Latino community, like you had parents living with their parents or like living close to their parents, where the grandmothers and grandfathers and the tias and the aunts and uncles, like they were all a part of the child rearing and everybody was kind of doing it together. And then you go back into like monarchical times, and you had royalty that like had an entire staff that did this. And it wasn't even just that, like that was the common way to do it. Was to have a community approach. You think about tribal people, indigenous people, the entire community came in together for the child rearing. And so in today's world, we have so much access, right? And things are so much different. And so people are getting married later in life. People are starting families. They're settling down in different cities from where they grew up, away from their families of origin. Right? They might meet somebody in college or when they've traveled abroad or whatever it is, and they find a place to settle down and create their new family of creation. Where's the community? Where's the village? Where's the tribe to the parents in the child rearing? And, we face like a really big issue in quality childcare, especially in early childhood, where we don't have a lot of quality access to it. Whereas like there's so many European countries that are doing it right, that we haven't really taken a page out of their book yet, but they're getting quality childcare. And so I love this concept that you're coming to with your business, itavi, that it takes a village and that it's a lot more than just having somebody to supervise the child. Like I remember in my own personal experience, I would be like, okay, well, I remember feeling like, okay, well, there's just like an adult here, but nothing is like happening. Nothing enriching is occurring. No like lessons are being taught, like except for if it's raining outside, there's a movie on and that's what it is. So there's a definite need for what you're doing. And I want to hear more about how you have found a way to train, to gather, to facilitate these caretakers.
That's a really good question, especially in, where, building a team is very challenging in any business, right? And it's about how do you build your culture? How do you build your ethos? Who are you about as a company? And to start with, we really start by looking for childcare professionals. We don't refer to them as babysitters, going back to where you were a little bit. Babysitters were when you were in a community, your high school neighbor, daughter, or son would come over and watch your children for you. That's a babysitter, right? There's no expectations to that. It's just, come over and hang out. We refer to our team members as childcare professionals because they have experience in childcare. So it starts by looking at the industry very differently, because you also said in the society and some other, countries have redefined how we approach it and how we execute it. Yep. And here it's, not for anything, but it's such an afterthought.
It's an afterthought.
And so the tensions have never really been placed with, okay, these are our expectations, which is so mind-boggling because these are our children, right? So we find childcare professionals who have experience, and then we train them. We ensure that they are trained to itavi standards, and we create our own village within the village that we are sharing with other families, to support them in ways of, because I also believe that childcare professionals have been such a marginalized profession and sector. Most of them are women. very little mobility. You don't have health care. You don't have the opportunity to grow. And they really care about taking care of other people's children, which is very hard to find somebody who likes to take care of other people's children. You know, with your own children, some days you're like, oh, I can't, right? So to go in there and care for other people's children and make sure that you're their guardian while you are in their presence is not an easy task.
No, it's not.
So we value that and we want to empower that. So we provide this back end support system that allows them to go and do what they need to do with having all the other boxes ticked. So, you know, they have all the information they need about who they're going to spend time with. They have, a support system for the what if moment is going to happen. You and I talked about this off camera a little bit. Life is going to happen. Yeah. Life always presents. It's how you resolve it. And when you resolve it with support, you're going to most likely have a better outcome. The right intentions are presented. So we're offering that to these childcare professionals, and we're giving them the opportunity to, how we really offer our services through hotels. So we have partnered with national branded luxury hotels, One Hotel, we're at Fontainebleau, St. Regis. So we have really wonderful hospitality partners. And so when we send our childcare professional, they have all this information so they can arrive. They have all the arts and craft, everything they need in order to execute the itavi method, and they can just go and have fun. And the parents can then go and have their experience, right? Because when you leave your child, in the back of your mind, they're going to just watch a movie, or they're going to actually do something tangible. So you don't feel guilty leaving them, so that that there's going to be, an experience that they're having while you're having your experience out on your date or at a function. Also confidence that, through our process, we have proven we're reliable and we're accessible, and you're going to have somebody there, a live person, not a queue, not a website where you have to wait for a response in your what if moments. That's how we train our team. We identify them from already having extensive childcare experience, and then we continue to enrich that by offering ongoing training monthly to make them better, to empower them. So when they show up, they're their best version of themselves as well.
This conversation is so good, but before we keep going, I want to take a minute to thank our sponsors, Sana Skin Studio. The best way for me to describe Sana is that it feels like coming home. Unlike traditional facials, Sana's facials are rooted in education, and I love this so much. Every experience I've had at Sana has been a chance to learn more about my skin and its needs. I love that the facials are effective while also being accessible enough to be a monthly ritual rather than a yearly splurge. I'm honored to be able to provide our audience with a promo code. Use the code THENOGLOW for $25 off of your first facial at Sana when booking via sanaskinstudio.com. So I think this is major. And, since I have 3 kids, I believe you have 3 kids also, right?
So I do.
Yeah. So since having my children, when I was having babies, Eric, my partner, was traveling all the time and I was alone a lot. And so I had to do the whole find a nanny thing mostly by myself. And it was really, really hard to do, to find the right person. Mm-hmm. And I really want moms and parents everywhere, but especially the moms that listen to my podcast, I want them to know that they're not alone in the struggle to find quality childcare. Mm-hmm. Because it really is such a mission. And I have gone personally, I have used some of the top agencies in the city, and I've not gotten the best people. And one of the things I always tell parents to look for, because I feel like I'm one of the go-to people for my friends. It's funny because, and this is a side thing, but the no is not being, a lot of people think it's in the know, because I'm in the know, and I happen to be in the know of many things. I want to tell you where to get your hair done and your nails, and where to get a facial, and who's the best orthodontist in the city, and who's the best pediatrician. So I happen to be in the know of all of these things, but that's not what the premise of the podcast is about. But I happen to be in the nanny know. So I have such a great staff of my own that I'm so grateful for, and I'm so grateful that I can afford to have quality childcare. But I happen to be the person who has the hookup when it comes to like quality childcare professionals. And it's really hard. But one of the things that I always talk about, and this is something that you hit on, is a childcare professional. Like I have always encouraged my friends to look for a person who is a career nanny, and not just somebody who might be like hopping in between jobs. And not that there's anything wrong with that. There's plenty of great, especially for like older age kids, like as your kids get into elementary school, there's plenty of great like college kids that are going to have the energy to like keep your child stimulated and run around with them and all these things. But when it comes to having young children, especially, for a career caretaker who they want to do with their life because they are so passionate, like you said, about caring for children. And that's really hard to find when you're traveling, unless you're gonna up and pay to bring your staff people with you, which is, expensive. Now, obviously, like you're catering to these high-end hotels, and that's perfectly great. But it's another thing to buy an airfare ticket and buy another, but pay for another room for your staff person and the meals and the everything, where otherwise you have to go into your vacation or your work trip where you have to bring your kids, or a family emergency where you're traveling, but you have to bring your kids and they have to stay at the hotel. And who's going to take care of them? And who do you trust?
Right. And, everything starts, you're a mom of three. I'm a mom of three, as you mentioned. And my oldest actually comes home today. He's in his junior year in University of Boston. And my youngest is 8. So I have a spread. So similar to you, in my own community here, I become the dermatologist, just from experience. And that's what life is. It's about experience, right? So how I got to this is from having those experiences where when you're traveling, or just the uncertainty of how to navigate childcare. And you mentioned it. And yes, having resources, can be a benefit at times. However, that doesn't always make it so, right? And additionally, word of mouth is such a tremendous resource, but sometimes, like Nikki, you and I could be best friends. We could have grown up together, and you said, "Oh, I have this great person." Okay, so this great person comes, and I'm like, "Yeah, no, that doesn't work for me," because childcare is very subjective. I always compare it to looking at a painting in some ways. I'm going to see something different than you see, and that's based on our individual upbringing, right? And even between you and your partner, you parent differently because of the way you were raised. So similar to childcare, you're looking for different things based on your own individual expectations that I probably won't even be able to tap into as your best friend. So how do we put expectations to that? And that's what itavi does. From the moment you engage us, our intake forms, the follow-up, the opportunity to really understand the landscape prior, and gives us all the information we need to know to make sure we're on the success side and minimizing risk, then on the alternative side. So, I feel that you're right. New moms, it's really daunting, and can be very stressful as well, because you're almost going with your gut instinct. What else do you have, right? And you sometimes second guess yourself. And I've had quite the spectrum of experiences with childcare people in my life with our children. And I just said, I'm why we do what we do. And to your point, you've had a lot of different agencies. I wouldn't recommend somebody to go into your space if I wouldn't have them in my own, because I have found with other agencies and companies that do similar to what we do, it's different intentions. Our intentions are really about the connection, old school, making sure somebody wants to be there and is going to be proven to be there. And so you're really setting everything up for success versus rolling the dice and you're not sure. So when you start at that entry level or that standard point, you are already elevated, right? So I think the approach is, and I went back, we talked about this a little bit, has always been a little bit not with the right intentions. And so all of these practices that we have aligned are proving it is the right approach. We also, in hotels, we manage and operate kids clubs for the opportunity where hotels that have kids clubs drop them off. And again, we have a no electronic. Oftentimes I go in there, I say, you know what, if we're not the right partner, if you're going to keep up these TV screens and have these computers there, listen, I have 3 kids. You mentioned I give my youngest the iPad all the time, but that's on my own time. That's my decision to do.
Oh my gosh, I have conversation all the time. I'm so glad you brought this up. Okay, so I'm gonna share that in that experience with you, because I know that like if you and I are talking about having the same experience, then our listeners, our audience, they're like, me too, exactly that. It's like, because when you're paying a person to care for your kids because you can't do it, you want them to be caring for your kids and doing something with them. Like for me, I reserve the right to use the iPad or the TV when I am alone with my 3 children and I need to use it as a tool because I'm wrangling 3 children by myself, right? But if you have a caretaker in place that has the sole responsibility of caring for the children, then you want them to be doing just that, caring and engaging with them.
Absolutely.
On an electronic that is doing their job for them, essentially. I'm so lucky,
absolutely.
But like I have the best. I want to shout out, like without telling like their names. Like I have the best people in my life. They're my angels that help me with my kids, and I'm just they help me as a human being, as a mother. And they love my children and they take care of my children and I trust them. And I'm so grateful. And, I want every parent to be able to feel like that. Like, if they're leaving the house, that they can trust wholly, and granted, my staff has been with me since my youngest was born. And it's a different ballgame. We're talking about a completely different thing when we consider itavi and that the service that you're providing from a traveling perspective. But I think that all the experiences are different, but all the experiences are the same. They're just in different wrapping. We all want the same thing. We all want for our child to feel safe, right? Like we mentioned, we want our child to know that they're safe, to know that they're well taken care of, that they're going to be healthy, that they're going to be enriched, that they're going to have engagement, and that they're going to have a responsible adult in the building who will advocate for them and give them the things that they need.
And everything you listed is a lot. There was a lot of response. That's a lot. It's a lot, to take on. Yes. And so, and itavi, how we really want to resolve that is by providing programming. I have a programming director on, so that way I so feel an engaged child is less opportunity for risks to happen because you don't have
100%.
chaos, right? It makes sense. So, that's the beauty of it. And we have, we do long-term placement too. We partner with the Dolphins and we do a lot of their placement for team players, and so it's very rigorous also because we do so many other things that I haven't found other companies to do in terms of evaluation. We do emotional intelligence testing. We do, there is a lot to it to make sure that is the right person who's going to be not in a hotel space for 4 hours. Yes, you want that too, but that's a minimal time. But when they're with you every day, 5 days, 6 days, traveling with you, however that looks, it becomes family. And, making that partnership really align needs to be more robust than I find most other companies look at it. And so, that's a whole nother subject we could talk about, but, it all ties in. We are in childcare, whether it's in a hotel, family activations at some of our condos associations. It's about how do we look at childcare globally, and we're at the forefront of that. And obviously not obviously, but we're a startup. We started, during COVID, and have had tremendous success because of being in Miami and it being open and all of that. So we were able to really see a huge uptick, right?
Hold on. I want to we're right there, Ayana, because I want you to also give yourself the credit, right? It's not just because of COVID and just because Miami's open. It's because Ayana, tapped into something that was missing in the market. And that was you, right? That's your power. And that's part of the story. Like, that's part of it. It's like, how are these businesses successful? How have you tapped into such great success? Like, as a startup during COVID, it's you. It's you. It's your idea. You are the chef who's there every day, who's like making your dreams come to life and like making sure that the vision stays the course, that it's your vision that you've created.
It's interesting because you're a woman, you're a mom, you have a lot of responsibilities that, and it's every day, to your point. It didn't just happen during COVID. It's something that's taken me, I'm 50, I'm going to be quite honest. And I didn't get here, just wake up and say, I'm going to start a childcare service and, try and crack the hardest formula to, because it's childcare, there's so much liability there. We really have been through it all and what it needs to be. But it's a lifelong process. And, I thank you for that. And, it is every day and it's with the right intention. It's not about the intentions. Yeah, we want to grow and yes, we want to be successful, but I believe we will reach success if we have the right service and the right product to then share. And that's where it starts from. And we're always adjusting. We're at it because we're still small and, a small team, we're able to really adjust to make it better. Yeah. So not only do we challenge our childcare professionals to be better so that the children can be better, so that the parents can be better, it's how does itavi also be better every day? Every day, that's what I ask. I ask that of myself. I ask that of the team. I ask that of company when we sit down as a management team. So, I think that applies to life, whatever your goal is, wherever you're at. And I wanted to create something. I didn't know what that was. And it comes to you when you have those experiences. I don't think it presents otherwise. You have to go through challenging things. You have to have all of your life experiences bring you to almost this formula that presents, that says, okay, now I have the skill set. Now I've seen this. Now I can identify how to resolve or be better or wanting to share. And I think that's the takeaway for me, at least.
I couldn't agree more. I always say that like, I used to struggle with this, like, what gives me the authority to even have a podcast like this, where I get to call it the no, who am I to do that? And I had to come to a space where, and this was through a lot of like coaching, and I've had really beautiful, inspiring people come into my life to help me come to a place of this, but it's like, I am uniquely qualified based on my personal experiences to do exactly this, and it wasn't until I didn't know, I was like, oh, well, I'm good at dance. I'm good at art. I'm good at fashion. I'm good at teaching. I'm good at literature. Like, I'm good at speaking. I'm good at communicating with people. Like, what am I going to do with that? Like, what am I going to do with it? And then we're talking years later, like this happens for me and I created it and it's mine. Right. But I love that you told us all your age, because I want women, especially mothers, to know that they can start something whenever they want. That you don't have to have started something before you had the kids. You don't have to start it when your kids are little, and it's so hard, and it is. And I'm realizing that how hard it is to start something with small children. Like, you can be any age and you can redefine yourself, start something new. You can be whoever you want at whatever point in your life that you want to be at. So when you say, oh, I'm 50, and you kind of we're like, props to you, girl, because that's what I want women to know. Like, I want other women to know that they can pivot at any time in their lives, and that's totally okay. And if it's more than okay, it's fabulous. It's amazing.
One thing that I have learned, because you mentioned you've had people in your life that have brought you to this, and that's part of your village, right? Those are your village. And we all have our village. I've had a village, and I could, we're happy to share, because I do believe these people, and I mentioned this somewhere else, they're brought into your life for a reason. And it's up to us to really identify what that reason is and then to execute and to make it work for you. And that's not selfish. That's actually tapping into yourself and not putting limits on yourself based on your age, being a mom, not being a mom, not. Okay, now what? So you can't do those things? No, it's okay. Right now, I don't have this. How do I still navigate to get where I want to be? And sometimes that vision isn't clear. Believe me, I know it's not clear. But if you really almost take a step back and ask for it, the universe, whoever I don't want to get too into that, it does present. Because when you want something, it always presents. And then use your village, tap into your village to make your vision materialize and become a reality. That's it.
I mean, that's the mic drop right there, Ayana. Like, seriously, that's the mic drop. Like that is it, you know? And I love that you're taking something that you're passionate about and that you saw void in the industry, and you're saying, you know what, I'm going to be the person. I'm going to rise to the call. Like, I'm going to answer the call. And I think that's a lot of it too, is like, you know, how many times in your life, you know, and I think about my life, have I looked at somebody else doing something that I'm like, I had that idea 2 years ago, and I'm kicking myself because why didn't I do it? Because of all the reasons what I made up in my head of why I wouldn't do it, you know, and like why I didn't answer the call at that time. And it's because of this, and it's because of that. And all of those things might have been legitimate. I might not have had enough money to do it at the time. I might have been in school at the time. Like maybe logistically it wasn't going to work. But I always think about that when I see somebody doing something that like I either had an idea of or I wanted to be doing, and I have a pang of like, or like a moment of jealousy or envy where I'm like, oh, I should have been doing that. I had that idea first. Well, I didn't act on it. So I think there's a tremendous amount of courage that goes into answering the call. I don't care. We could like take like this childcare concept that in like not even be talking about childcare. We can be we're talking about life in general. It's like you're answering the call of what you are going to do with your life. And that doesn't have to be permanent. You could tell me, Ayana, in 10 years that you want to do something completely different. And that's answering another call in your life. Right. But bringing it back to this idea of the village is like that took everybody in it to bring you to this one particular space where you are able to answer the call to begin with.
Right. Today, you know, and that call, like you said, will evolve and change. And, you know, childcare is just so important. And it's, as a mom, as just being a part of this culture, this society, you know, spending time with children, being a part of different organizations. It's just, and I feel that we need to be better at making sure our children are protected and given or provided tools to be better. You said it before, things are moving so fast. We see it every day and it's not going to change, you know, so how do you make that work? All of those can be ingredients. How do you take that fast pacing, everything that's out there in today's moment? How do you make that work for you or work around it? Because you can't go backwards. That's like going back to an old boyfriend, or we don't do that, right? No. Well, right. You left for a reason.
I'm so happy to see that you are thriving in this position and that you are taking childcare seriously, because it is such an important thing everywhere. And we need to see more people honestly like giving a shit about it, you know? And you're doing that, and you're providing it, and you're stepping into the space, and I'm grateful for it. So I'm so grateful.
Thank you.
Tell us about your journey and tell us about what you're doing. And it's really, really powerful, and you're super inspiring.
Thank you for choosing to listen and allowing me the opportunity to come and spend some time with you today and getting to know you. So thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun. And we look forward itavi will be here. So we look forward to keeping you updated with our growth and what's next for us.
Amazing.
This podcast was brought to you by Sana Skin Studio. Be sure to use my code, TheNoGlow, for $25 off of your first facial at Sana when booking via sanaskinstudio.com. More than a skin studio, Sana is a movement towards healthier skin and self-love. Thank you so much for listening to The Know. If you loved this episode, go ahead and share it with a friend. Words are so powerful, and someone may need to hear what we covered today. And if you really loved this episode, please take a moment to rate the show and leave a review. Your comments are so important and valued, and they give other listeners insight on what to expect on The Know. You can connect with me personally via Instagram at Nikki Spo and The Know with Nikki Spo. My hope for you today is that you are fearless in looking inward so that you can be your highest, most authentic self and go after the life of your dreams.